Butler, guitarist and singer for Perpetual Groove.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you walked off stage tonight?
Well, tonight specifically, it didn't really go through my mind, but Perry gave me a cigarette and then quickly pointed out, he said, "Hey, you're bleeding." And I said, "Oh, how's that?" And he goes, "Look at the cigarette, there's blood on it." So I looked at the lip, and when you do a Rage Against the Machine cover, you get some crowd surfing.
The microphone got you in the mouth?
No, I don't think it was the mic. I think, I'm not sure exactly what, maybe I bit my lip when I headbutted the cymbal. But I mean, that's the great part of it. It's like, when did it happen? When I was crowd surfing, when I headbutted the cymbal. And then I, for the briefest moment, I was like, oh. And then I looked at Adam and I said, that's actually fucking awesome. That's fantastic. You know. So if you can draw blood, then that's, you know, especially
that was a good show.
With in a jam band sense, like I can't really picture
a scenario,
fish or string cheese or something where like literal blood. You know, and I love all those bands.
Yeah, but there's not a scenario where blood would be drawn.
Yeah, I mean, and even for us, really, I'm surprised that. So what didn't go through my mind, but rather through my lip, I suppose.
Well, when you picked three very specific covers that destroyed the crowd. You know, you had Nine Inch Nails, you had David Bowie, and then you fucking, I'm blanking, what was the last one? Rage Against the Machine. So, what goes into picking those covers? Like, why those songs? Is there something about those songs that...
Well, I think that within this group of people, and we figured this out relatively quick, that for all the broad bands that everybody likes in the group, like, you know, Albert loves Rush, obviously, as a drummer. You know, he really likes Rush. I enjoy Rush, but he really loves Rush. We all love Pink Floyd. We all have these love for certain bands, but there was this other aspect of things, I think, in our age group. I know Adam and I like one of the first things that I think I would dare to say close to cemented our friendship. The night that I met him, I looked at his CD stack in his dorm room, and I was like, "Oh, you have Clutch. You listen to Clutch." Really? And that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know,
fucking love Clutch.
Yeah, exactly. So when a certain band comes up in somebody's playlist, or today playlist, but back then in their stacks of CD cases, you know, I think that actually says an awful lot about a person, that how much they are proactive and looking further than what's kind of, I won't say spoon-fed, but just kind of, you know, there are some folks that, you know, and it's not to say that these other things aren't quality. It's just to say that beneath the surface, and for those that dare or care to look just a little bit deeper, there are the bands like the Clutches of the world and certain things like that.
Well, I wonder too, like with those three songs, they all encompass sex and rebellion.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose?
No, I wouldn't say it's on purpose. I think it's inevitable. Yeah. Our conversations lately have been that, even in our improvisation segments, that the current climate,
of course,
political, and
you're like me, you're very political, like, you know, like,
and actually, you know, it's
get
like,
the people together.
I really wasn't much of an activist.
You're on the sidelines until this shit went down.
I used to feel like I was kind of like, you know, I feel like that my task is to provide a kind of a sanctuary, a place that, you know,
safe space,
so people can, you know,
escape, maybe.
Exactly, escape, or however you want to describe it, but to give, you know, I felt like that was my my privilege to provide that in a way. Like,
do you find that it's more of a responsibility now that you have a platform?
No, but I do feel that with songs that I wrote when I was young, that there's now kind of like, I don't feel that it's insincere, but when I sing something like TSM or something, that when I was 20, when I wrote it, when I really meant it, kind of like, you know, songs about sunshine and I'm doing fine, that's really how I felt at that time. And now there's like just a hint of a bittersweet aspect to it. It's more of, there's a nostalgic aspect to it.
Well, I was going to ask too, is that when I watch the shows these days, there's a heaviness to it.
Yeah.
What is that heaviness?
Well, I think
if you mind me asking,
again,
what is that heavy?
No. I think,
it feels heavy.
Again, I think it's inevitable. I think that
is that just old age? Like getting older?
Well, I think that's not
You're not old by any means, but
that,
I mean,
that might be a part of it. But I think that it's more of that. We can't. We're not. Ignorance is bliss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're not naive, dumb fools up there just saying it's like, hey, there's all these things going on, but hey, here we are, la-di-da-di-da. We are all very aware of a great many things, and that doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything we do has to be doom and gloom necessarily. But I do think that our overall reactions between, and I wouldn't presume to say for all four of us, but I in a way I kind of will too, because that's why we are the group that we are, the friends that we are.
Of course.
That I know that none of us are Trump people, and
I think most people aren't Trump people. I think that it just kind of happened that way.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
It's a crazy thing,
Taking sides weirds me out.
To try to make sense of a very senseless.
Yeah.
By definition, to me, is completely chaotic, senseless, reckless.
Are you optimistic about the future?
I am. You have to be, because if you're not, then what do you do at that point?
You give up.
Yeah. If you're
What's the point of that?
Yeah, if you're done, you're done. So
I always said if you're 6 feet above, you might as well fight, right?
Yeah, and then and also you don't have to be militant about it. There's also this thing that I feel like that we can still have these things, and in a way, when I say that there's this nostalgic and bittersweet aspect to some of our earlier songs when I was a younger person, when we were all younger.
They got a whole new level when you get older.
Sure, and also at the same time, it's kind of like, it's like, hey, remember this.
Well, that's a voice you remember, but you can't ever be that voice again. You know what I mean? Or if you tried to go back, it would be like nostalgia that might ruin the voice.
It's the whole member berries thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember, and you do the best you can. And so at the same time, it's not insincere, but it takes on a different kind of spin.
Well, the other thing I was thinking too is, you guys have never disappeared, but there was a time when you went through all that bullshit that the band kind of there wasn't, no one knew what was going to happen. And I look at it some people might look at the last 2 years that the band's found their footing as a victory lap, but I look at it as the band the future is unknown. It's only the beginning. What do you see?
Oh yeah, no, I'm inclined.
Is this a victory lap or is it only the beginning?
No. This is no lap. I think that we are.
But you found your footing again.
Yeah, and not footing again. I think we just, if you're. I don't know. It's such a broad, subjective way to look at it.
But I feel like the last year or two, you guys have reclaimed what was yours in the beginning.
Maybe. But I've never really viewed anything about us that way, or myself that way, of what's mine, or I've really.
I guess just a place in the scene.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be making music. I'm happy to do it with my friends, and I hope that. It's a joyous occasion when it needs to be. I hope that it's.
Is there still a rush up there?
Oh, absolutely. Tonight in particular. That
crowd was wild.
Yeah, it was everything. And I hope that it's provocative as much as it should be. All appropriately so. And I don't know.
How do you measure success these days?
These days, I don't know if I've ever been able to measure success really, because
I don't know if when you start a band you set out with objectives.
No,
you've been headlong into it.
It's kind of funny. It's like when you start this group, and I remember being at a festival on my 21st birthday, and I'm
How old are you now?
I'm 37.
37.
Or my 22nd birthday actually. So I'm watching Medeski, Martin, and Wood. I'm watching Galactic at this festival, and I remember thinking to myself, not in a narcissistic way, but I was like, I do really think that the music that Adam and that the guys that we make, that I do believe it's really special.
Yeah.
And I really think if we could ever be fortunate enough to be put in a position where people of this size, or even not even this size, not a headlining thing, but just if people could be
make a connection.
made to hear it, I really think that they could find something special in it that I have, and then a couple years later, there I am on jam crews with the guys
Yeah.
from Galactic. I've played with Stan. I played with John Medeski, you know, and then it's kind of like, and then you start to talk to these guys, and you start to talk business and trade, and you realize that nothing was. I remember when I was 15 years old, I met the guys in the Deftones, and they had a tour bus, and I smoked a blunt with Chino from
And
the
you're like,
Deftones.
that's the greatest
and I was
thing
like,
ever.
oh, they must be so set. It must be so amazing. And now I really realize that it couldn't have been anywhere near the idea that I had in my mind of the perception that I thought it was.
Yeah.
And
You built it up.
yeah, exactly. And you know, being a 15-year-old, so it's just funny.
White
funny
Pony
stuff.
was a great album, man.
Shit, dude. I'm talking about adrenaline, son.
Yeah.
37.
So, just to finish up too is when you know, like, all that shit went down like a couple years ago. Was there a point where you thought maybe the band wasn't going to get back together?
You know, I don't know if I can really say that.
Because I know you figured a lot of shit out. You know, you and I have talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I did, but I mean, how much really?
I think the music speaks for itself.
How much can you ever speak for another person to where, like, you know, I don't really know.
Is everyone good?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Everyone's
I think,
on the level then.
Sure, yeah. At this point,
Was there a
I
point
think
when
so.
you went through all that bullshit where you were just like, this might never happen again?
Oh, I mean, for the first year of it, I was quite convinced, from my part, that I was not. I was, you know, everyone's kind of. I was like, you know, I don't need these guys, and who are they to tell me this? And then you have that. Like, not just
that's because you're hurting. You're hurting.
Not just a slice of humble pie.
Yeah.
Like, you get once there's a point where you're sitting there, you've just been arrested. You're sitting there in front of your mirror, and you say, like, you know what? There's no one at this point other than yourself. Like, this is the lot.
This is the bottom.
This is the story of you.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not a single person other than the person.
What did you learn about yourself when you went through all that bullshit?
Oh gosh, we don't have the time.
We don't
for
have to
that
dig
just
into
now.
it, but
Yeah.
but now that
I
you
mean,
look back on it, like,
I think ultimately that I'm okay with accountability.
Yeah.
That you know, it's not I used to kind of deflect into self-deprecation. Now it's kind of to flip the script, and it's more of a pride of, like, I stand to be counted for, like, my mistakes. And that all. So for the mistakes I've made, like, if you're gonna take compliments, you got to take the criticisms.
Yep.
So to value one, you have to equally be ready to accept the other.
well, my last question is, and I always love asking this question, is you've spent a life playing music, touring, all that good stuff. What does that touch about what it means to be a human being?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's just really. I mean, I think the ultimate lesson in being a human being is to have gratitude and have your appreciation for the moment in time.
Well, thank you, brother.
Never take a moment for granted. You know.